the Baen Free Radio Hour.
Hello and welcome to the Baen Free Radio Hour. Due to computer woes, Catherine Asaro could not be interviewed in her scheduled slot. So instead, we bring you Jeremy Comeaux's interviewing of DJ Butler and Aaron Michael Ritchie on their amazing novel, The Familiar Spirit. And later, we continue with the serialization of One Jump Ahead by Mark L. Van Name, Part 31.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode. I am your host, Jeremy Comeaux. That's enough about me. Let's get to the reason why we're really here. And it's to talk to these fine gentlemen and the latest edition in the Cunning Man series, The Familiar Spirit. And gentlemen, if you would, introduce yourselves. David, why don't you go first?
I am DJ Butler, commonly go by Dave. I am, what is this, my 12th Baen novel or something, maybe?
You've got a few.
It's our third novel in the Hiram Woolley books. Aaron's written a million novels. For me, this is number 20, and so I'm new at this. Someday I'll figure it out. I think Baen people probably you recognize me. I have been the host on the free radio hour various times. I edited for a while with Baen. I'm currently a senior editor at Arc Press for my day job, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Also a musician.
I play a little guitar badly. Aaron is the real
banjo.
And the banjo. I am a funeral banjoist. That is not many people. And not many funeral banjoists, but I am one.
Hey man, if you're gonna get the spirit, it's gonna be with the banjo.
That makes you dance.
I'm Aaron Michael Ritchie. I'm the author of 82 novels across 3 1/5 pen names. This is my third Baen novel with Dave Butler, and I only have these Baen novels. I do most of my writing for Shadow Valley Press. I've been writing a lot of lit RPG books lately, and the latest lit RPG books that I have are Dungeon Accountant. So Audit Team 6 is book 1. So
I like that.
Yeah, and I co-wrote those with Nathan Amy. So the last couple of years I've been doing a lot of co-writing. It's been super fun, but it's also been I'm almost done with book 83, and it's fun to just have it be my own thing, not have to deal with anybody else, just have my own vision. So yeah.
Do you have a preference as far as writing and co-writing?
No, I'd rather write my own books.
No.
Because then, it's my vision. It's my whole deal. So
yeah. And you get paid more.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is you're not dividing up royalties.
Yeah.
So.
Before we go too far, let's let people know where they can find you online and out in the wild and all that good stuff. David.
Yeah, I have AaronMRitchie.com is my website. It's super old. It's like super old. It's like vintage, we like to say. We like to say vintage.
Early
and I have
internet.
a Patreon. I'm on the Facebook. I had a TikTok account, and I did it religiously for like a minute, and then I don't do it anymore.
Aaron's website has tail fins.
Yeah, exactly. If it's 2005, oh yeah. Nice.
My website is davidjohnbutler.com. It is 100% not updated. I need an intern or something. The place you can find me, two places where I'm pretty active. One is on X, David John Butler. The other is if you are A real human, and B, not a creep, I will happily invite you to my Discord server, which is quite active. It's in theory some kind of a Dave Butler fan server, but in practice, it's a community mostly of writers, sort of talking about writing, craft, business, life, and sort of sharing a lot of inside scoop stuff. So those are the two places.
Do you have any appearances coming up?
I think it's likely I will be at Dragonsteel. I think that's the only thing I've got before February.
All right. And Aaron?
Yeah, I'll be at Author Nation.
Ooh, cool.
So
where's that?
Vegas.
In Vegas. Okay.
Beginning of it's the old 20 books 50K became Author
Right.
Nation.
The management is still inviting you.
I know I'm going to be on a panel. So with
Uh-huh.
James Hunter. So and he's the moderator. It's going to be a train wreck. That guy.
He's gonna throw you. He's gonna throw you softball questions.
He has issues.
And be like, Aaron, why are you so sexy?
I want to be Dave Butler's intern. How do I sign up for that job?
I think you have to go to BYU. I don't know where else I'm going to post you.
You need a degree. That's degree from BYU. Okay,
Right.
and I probably have to convert. So you know,
you don't have to, but you have to live the honor code. So
Yeah.
I'm good with that for the most part.
So before we get into the books, how did you guys get together and become co-writers and start the series?
Well, my first memory of Aaron Ritchie is the story of him and Quincy Allen sharing a bed on the ride up to
hotel room. Sharing hotel room.
On the ride up to Emerald City Comic Con. As I recall, you were given a hotel room with one bed. Is that not?
No, 2 beds. I have a thing. I would sleep on the floor. So anyway, I slept on the floor. So
I
anyway,
slept on the floor many times. Also.
Yeah.
Aaron and I met at Emerald City Comic Con in 2015 or something.
14?
14. I can't remember. No earlier than 14. Might have been 14. We both were trying to find ways to reach audience. I think that's fair to say. Kevin Anderson had a traveling bookstore, and we both sort of got ourselves published by Wordfire Press. And part of the opportunity and also part of the sort of deal is that we would staff the booth and basically work in a traveling bookstore that went to conventions. So that's our first. I can't remember how many you went to. At least several a year, right? You did the con circuit pretty actively.
Yeah. Enough to have my wife say this is a problem. So
stop doing this.
I did it enough for Laura to go, oh, it's a con. Oh.
I'm starting to get there with my wife.
Yeah. It's a fine line. The man balances between his work life and his and Butler and I, we are very kindred spirits. When I mentioned Dave Butler, I always say he's my celebrated Mormon theologian friend. I grew up very Catholic. My brother was a priest.
Yeah.
The only
didn't go that far, but yeah.
And that wins me something. A couple things. I said the rosary with my mother on her deathbed. That's very Catholic. And my brother was a priest, very Catholic. I was never an altar boy, so I kind of feel like I didn't get the full. So anyway, so I grew up intensely religious. My religious views have become esoteric, shall we say? And so me and Dave Butler really bonded over kind of discussing God and religion and life and the world, and we were just kindred spirits right off the bat. And then he invited me to he does a yearly writing retreat, and he also does. Dude, Dave Butler's the best because he does these he has this big house in Utah. And he invites people, and they give lectures in this room, and they have folding chairs. It's just and they talk about everything. I mean, they talk about one was tall ships, right? Didn't you have a shipwright?
Yeah, we've had demonstrations of lithographic techniques. We had a Dominican monk come lecture us about the history of the New Mexico penitentes movement. We had not just a history lecture, but a group participation of remote viewing from one of the sort of original remote viewers from the U.S. government's Project Stargate. So
that's so cool.
I get invited to one of these things, man.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
I know, right?
The whole world's invited. I only ever get like 20 to 70 people somewhere, but like I invite everybody. I don't know why you guys aren't showing up.
That's cool, man.
I'm in Denver.
No.
That's why I don't show up.
This is the problem.
Aaron, you do speaking engagements too, right?
Not as much anymore. I mean, I've really kind of like I've doubled down on another pen name, and I'm doing mostly online marketing stuff now.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a rare appearance by Aaron Michael Ritchie. So you're very lucky, Jeremy, to get me, because generally I'm going to become a recluse. Who's J.D. Salinger, right? Like, right?
Yeah, or Thomas Pynchon.
Yeah. So I'm gonna start writing super weird books and become a shut-in. So
wait, so what when you say super weird, what direction are you gonna go in?
Thomas Pynchon, man. Surreal, like post. Well, I love David Lynch. Me and David Offshore, a co-worker of Dave Butler, and also a great editor and just an all-around great guy. He's David AF. We both bonded over David Lynch, so I'm a huge David Lynch fan.
Awesome. I had Afshawarad on my last interview.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what's funny is when we were working on the Cunning Man books, I was like, me and Dave both agreed to go we have these Lynchian strange characters. And that's the great thing about David Lynch is he loves people. And so his characters, they're weird, but there's this like love of humanity and like the absurdism of humanity. And so we have some of that in our books. I mean, some of our side characters are just over the top. I mean, just.
Well, yeah. And I can attest. So this is the first book that I've read in this series. And there was really no, I didn't feel like I was missing anything. You know, I got right into it. I was
Sure.
And so I could just pick up where the book picked up, and it felt great. You know, I didn't feel lost or anything, and that was good. And
it's great.
But what y'all are already talking about is informing a lot of what I saw in the book. You know, like with you and your writing retreat and some of the speakers that you've had. I was like, oh, I could see how that kind of could have influenced this, and then what you're talking about with how you write and the interesting characters, because there's one thing about that I liked about this book is that it's very unique, and I'm a fan of contemporary fiction, even though this is somewhat of a period piece, and so you already had me there, but then you went and made it interesting, and I had a good time reading this one.
Yeah,
good.
There's a really terrific booktuber whose handle is iSamwise. I like iPhone, iPad, iSamwise, who reviewed The Cunning Man a few weeks ago, and he was super cool. He said, I love these books. He said, but I don't know who they're written for. These books are crazy. he said,
they're very unique,
and which I think is perceptive. Aaron and I have this conversation a lot. These are not fungible books. These are books that not necessarily anybody could have written, right? Mm-hmm. They come from a place. These are from Western writers. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of Mormonism and Catholicism in them, right? Not just anybody could have written them, right? Now that's a gamble, right? Either nobody wants to read them, or people go, wow, that's cool. And ultimately, I think this is for every book, it's really a long-term question, right? And you find out what books ultimately will stand the test of time. My bet is still on this Cunning Man series. I think people are going to be reading it 20, 30 years from now. I will tell you, I am going to talk to 2 different classes at BYU about this series, one in October, one in November. We've spawned. We're now being taught in 2 classes on BYU.
Oh, not just Christopher Blythe's class, a different one?
That one, and also James Goldberg's wife has a different class. And
that is hilarious. Oh my God.
I think Christopher is actually reading The Jupiter Knife this year.
Great.
So
Great.
And Heidi's class is going to do The Cunning Man. Yeah.
Jupiter Knife is my favorite. Out of the 3 books, that's my favorite.
Well, I haven't read all of them yet, but I will be fixing that.
Awesome.
Because I did enjoy this one. Now, to the point of it being unique, we were talking religion earlier. I am a recovering Catholic, and meaning I don't really practice anymore. And to where, sometimes religious things can turn me off. This didn't.
Oh, good.
This didn't turn me off at all. It worked well with the character. It worked well with the quote unquote magic. It explained it well for me, at least. And not only that, it was interesting. Like, especially like the first chunk where you're kind of building the scene and everything, and they bring the stuff here, and then they make their way out. I don't want to spill too much, but
Sure.
But it was real informative, and you tapped on some things that I kind of vaguely knew about, like the Romneys.
Yeah.
Being in Mexico and things like that. It's why Romney's dad couldn't run for president, because he wasn't born in the U.S.
Yeah, these 2 of these communities exist today still.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And yeah, you go down there and you're like, it's interesting. I found out, I had a neighbor, and I was having a casual conversation with him. And he's a guy I've seen on and off. He's not immediate. He's like 2 streets over. Okay. And he's just like he's like a white guy. His name's Jeff. Okay.
That's a white guy name.
A white guy named Jeff.
Right? He's a super interesting guy, very engaging about history, knows a lot about business. And we were having kind of some early conversations. He'd seen me on a podcast or something. And suddenly it comes up that he has a house in Mexico too. In fact, he has a house in these places not in Colonia Dublin, not in Colonia Juarez, but in one of these 2 communities. And super interesting. The guy is a Mexican citizen. I mean, this is today. He's alive today. This is my friend today. Mexican citizen. He has been a member of the House of Representatives. He's been a member of the Mexican Senate. He has also he was like the undersecretary for commerce or agriculture for Vicente Fox's government. Okay. So speaks fluent native Spanish, is a white guy named Jeff. Or as the Mexicans call him, Jeffrey. Jeffrey, que buena verte. Wild. So that's like just a weird bit of history that was fun to put in this.
Yeah. So let's start at the beginning. Where did the idea for this series come up? And was it supposed to be a series, or did y'all just have fun and kept going?
No. We had. It was going to be episodic. Well, it came out, and actually, I have Dave Butler. I have my Comeaux Award.
Oh,
2022.
Look at that mug. There it is.
So at the retreat, we get together. We write books during the day. We play board games at night. Little did I know, one of the hallmarks of Mormonism is board games. I did not understand, and Diet Mountain Dew. You learn all sorts of things. And so we were talking about, Dave was talking about, we were just talking about early Mormonism and the worldview, this folk magic, right? I mean, it was really, it kind of, there's a controversial book that we got on talking about Mormonism and the magical worldview, right?
Early Mormonism, the magic worldview. Yep.
Oh, cool.
And so we were talking about that, and we were just talking about kind of like the folk magic beginnings, and then we're just, it's a writer's retreat. Your creative juices are going, and you're just like, oh, we could do like a pulpy like X-Files. And the original idea, we were going to have a man and a government agent, a woman sent there, and it was going to be like a Scully Mulder. So we had the cunning man who uses real American folk magic to and it's folk magic that have been passed down from generation to generation. And so I pitched the book series as it's about a Mormon sorcerer investigating paranormal crimes in Dust Bowl, Utah.
Mhm.
And so Tony Weisskopf, the editor of Bane's, like, nah, don't do the man woman. And Dave and I were like, what about a son? And then we came up with the idea of the Navajo son. His father was killed in Michael is the Navajo son. His father was killed in World War One. And then so it's their relationship doing good and fighting evil using real American folk magic, which has, heavy Christian type of, so a lot of the magic comes from prayers, and that kind of a thing. And then Dave bought me spell books.
I did.
So as a good Catholic, I'm like, should I have these spell books?
And worse, Mormon books of scripture.
Yeah, no, I've got a Book of Mormon with my name on it in gold. I'm pretty sure I could use it to fight vampires.
Correct.
So,
correct. Father Mulcahy would be disappointed though, so you hide it in the chest.
No. It's all the Word of God. So that was kind of the original idea, and so we pitched. So Dave was pitching a bunch of books to Bane, and Tony was like, "Hey, what about this Mormon sorcerer book?"
Yeah, we thought it would not go.
And he calls me, and I'm like, "What?" I was mountain biking. He's like, no, they want to do that. We're going to get a contract. And I'm like, oh, okay, let's do it. It was so much fun. It was so much. And it was one of the things that got me to quit my job and to write books full time. So,
oh, that's awesome.
It was fun because we in the pitch, we sort of pitched something a little pulpier, really definitely kind of episodic, kind of a little more Indiana Jones feeling. But when we kind of got to writing it, we said, we don't really want to write that. Let's write something that pushes a little more towards literary, that it's not just straight an adventure. That's aesthetically, that's like a little kind of David Lynchian, right? Minor characters that are a little bizarre, and sort of, some of the kind of mythological and sort of sometimes surreal kind of Lynchian stuff. Mm-hmm. And we said, look, worst case, it's a 2-book deal, right? So if they hate it, then like we're done, fine, right? But we'll have taken a shot. And I remember one of the big concerns we had turning in the first book is, we're like, they might really hate the magic here. They're going to come back and say, no, he needs to fly or cast a fireball spell, right? Because, of course, it's full of actual magical practice, which doesn't look at all like fireballs and flight spells, right? It's much more subtle stuff. And it was how we got away with it. So it's been one of the great pleasures of my writing career, is writing this series with Aaron.
Agreed. It was crazy because we did a bunch of research. So the first book is in Helper, Utah. So we drove down to Helper, Utah, and we met Jason Huntsinger, who's back at the museum, by the way.
I owe you an answer. I'm so sorry. I know I'm behind. I got to email you. He wants copies.
You need an intern. This is why you need an intern.
Yeah, he's sold a bunch of copies of The Cunning Man out of the Western Railroad and Mining Museum in Helper, Utah.
Which is great. It's great. Yeah. So we became best friends with Jason Huntsinger. And we looked in did research. And so it took place in 1935. And we said, okay, what did Utah look like in 1935? Surprisingly, a lot more asphalt than you would think. I really thought it would be all dirt roads, but that's not the case. And so the first one's in Helper. The second one's in Moab. I'm a huge fan of Moab. And so I've been through there. I read a great book. It's from cowpokes to bike spokes. It's kind of a history of Moab, kind of like folk history. Mm-hmm. Moab's just beautiful, gorgeous. 2 national parks. And then the third one was in Colonial Juarez in the Mormon colonies in Mexico. Mm-hmm. And so the punchline of Dave's story with Jeffrey is Jeffrey said, why don't you come to my hacienda and do some research? And so Dave and I, we read a bunch of books. We talked to James Goldberg, whose part of his family, was from the colonies, right?
Yes.
And so I couldn't go because I told my wife, hey, I'm going to go to northern Mexico and drive through Juarez, and she burst into tears. And so I said, I called Dave and I'm like, hey, my wife is weeping at the thought of me going to Juarez. So you'll have to go by yourself. And he did in his minivan from hell with like 250,000 miles on it. Yep. And he got lost. And he was like, but see, Dave is a man of God. So he had his faith. He has courage. Men of faith have courage. They trust their God. And so, so these are all well-researched into, and the settings really become characters, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, especially in the third book. I mean, the third book is just so special because of Dave's research and because of this kind of unique time in history and how the Mormons were cheated by the U.S. government, and just the whole, it was just fascinating. And then the Civil Wars in Mexico.
Yeah. In which the U.S. ultimately gets involved, right? Blackjack Pershing comes down and chases Pancho Villa right through that space. So it's a lot of history. I've been cracking this joke at a couple times, Jeremy. I followed Marisa at the Bain Roadshow recently, and she gets up and she says, my novel is set in an ancient magical land where there have been great tragedies and crimes, and magic is now forbidden. Mm-hmm. And I get up like 20 minutes later and I say, Aaron and I set this book in an ancient land full of great crimes and tragedies where magic is now forbidden. We called it Mexico.
That is hilarious. It's exactly that, right? It's exactly that. Oh my God.
That's awesome.
So funny.
So, because I was going to ask who's the historian? How much research did you have to do? Because y'all,
both of us.
Both of us. Because I have a degree in history.
Oh, awesome. So any particular genre of history?
No, from Santa Clara University. I double majored.
Oh, awesome.
And I was nominated valedictorian. I graduated summa cum laude.
Wow.
Like that matters in my life at all. It really, and the only reason why I double majored is I kept taking history classes because I would find a teacher and take all their history classes. So Barbara Maloney was a Asian history. She had done some work with the government as the consulting on Asian history. She was a big name, and so she was a great teacher. I took all of her classes. Professor Skinner taught African history using novels. So of course I took all his classes. And so I was with my advisor and she was like, hey, you have like one class away from a major. And so I took a summer school class, Barbara Maloney. I took her modern China history and I double majored. So yeah, we're both historians. Dave Butler, though, is one of the most
there you go.
One of the most well-read. His office. So on the writing retreat, I would sleep in his office on the floor with the spiders. And we
have more beds now, by the way. Two of my kids have moved out. We have a bunch of, it's like the house is empty.
I know. I get the nice bedroom now. I'm special. But no, like his library is just filled with like tomes of it's like erudition, man. It is just like an archive of like, and you go from like Mormon theology to like how to make armor out of linen and rabbit fur, like ancient linen armor, and like and then Conan comic books and like everything in between. So it's he's probably the most well-read man I've ever met, other than my brother, God rest his soul. My brother was also very well-read. So both of those. So.
Those are literally all books that I have.
No, seriously.
Yeah. No, but Aaron's. I didn't know he had a degree, but Aaron is quite a historian. There's a lot of the sort of research in the book. There's a discussion of like how border crossings worked in the 1930s and before, and riots over the practice of cleaning immigrants off
with kerosene.
I mean, until they fairly recently blocked off the border. Especially if you were white, I think they just basically let you walk across back and forth either way. But if you looked like you were, if you looked Latino, right? If you looked like you had Indian blood, basically, it was always harder, right? Yeah, they at one period they would use kerosene as a cleaning agent.
So yeah, it was terrible. But also, and it was really interesting, like the amount of ethnicities in Mexico during this time. I mean, you have Chinese barbers who came over in the 1500s to cut hair in Mexico City. So we have, and then you have like the indigenous population, and then you have, the mestizo, the Mexican, the Spanish, Indian mix. You have white people, and then you have a lot of the Asian people who fled because after the railroad, the U.S. tightened immigration, and so you had a lot of those people who didn't want to go back to China. So they fled over the border into Mexico. So you have this big mix of people. And then you have the Mormons who escaped. There was legislation aimed at them to outlaw polygamy. And so you have a lot of the polygamists who left the U.S. to live in Mexico and make these cities that were very, am I in Provo or am I in Colonial Juarez? I mean, it was this kind of, it was just like super, super interesting.
Yeah, still today, those you find sort of the old the houses in Utah from the initial settlement, sort of Victorian, like downtown Provo, like the nice houses, the houses that people who were really well-to-do lived in, are these old Victorian houses built kind of 1890s or whatever. The exact same houses are in Colonia Dublin and Colonia Juarez. Like it is the same people, right? They went down there, and to this day, it's surreal. If you drive into Nuevo Casas Grandes through Dublin, you go from, fields full of peppers and, corn and whatever. Suddenly you're in a suburb of Utah. It lasts for 1 mile. And then like it's Mexican architecture like you see in every cowboy movie or cartoon, right? It's the adobes painted white, square, buildings at the front, little yards behind, if anything, right? It is like a little two. I mean, they were called colonies. It's kind of what they are. Two little colonies surviving down there in Chihuahua.
Yeah. So I was reading the book, and y'all presented basically all this information in a very interesting way. For a split second, when I was reading the book, I was like, "Oh, this is very interesting." It's like I was reading a history book in story form, but then stuff goes down, and
then ghosts.
Right. Really gets interesting.
Murder.
Yeah.
Murder, ghosts, locked room, a locked room murder.
First love.
First love. Oh, that was.
Yeah, y'all did a great job of presenting all this information without it being like an info dump or boring or anything. I found it very interesting. Now, I was already interested in it's contemporary fantasy, and I love that. The time, and I say contemporary, it's in the 1935-ish
it's
time.
funny because now that's like almost 100 years ago.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
But there's cars, right?
Right.
It feels like in a sense
somewhat contemporary. And then you have all this information, and then you're talking about real world stuff, and I found that very interesting because I didn't find out about the fact about the Romneys but like maybe a year or two ago. And that they moved down there, and that there's these whole communities that still exist and everything. And I found that very, very interesting.
Have you seen Arrested Development?
Yes.
That is one of the good running gags in about season 3 or 4 is the Mexican Romneys.
Yes. Yeah. And they have Mexican accents and
they're like on horses and they have sombreros. It's obviously it's a complete gag, but
yeah. No,
this is the history behind the gag.
Yeah. And I recently watched that for the first time, and I was like, hey, I know what that's about. But no, I found it very interesting. And then, like I said, shenanigans ensue, and it was good. Now, did y'all make up the term cunning man, or did it already exist?
Take it, Dave.
Yeah, that's a real thing. So this is a term that comes out of English history, and it really magic has not really been academically studied until recently. It got attention like in anthropology, or sometimes it would get attention when it sort of intersected the New Testament a little bit, right? It's sort of become an academic discipline in its own right, meaning not that there's somebody out there trying to do stuff in his office, in Cornell or whatever, but like academically studying magic. And so you see a bunch of books about the cunning men or the cunning folk, and they're all in the last 20 years, basically. So a cunning man or a cunning woman was the benevolent practitioner of magic in your village, and they knew how to get things done. They knew how they had solutions that worked. Demographically, the research shows they tended to be middle class and educated. They were artisans. So these are people who might be like a gunsmith or a seamstress by day. But if you kind of come around the back door, or, hey, when we're at church, let's just sit in the back and discreetly talk about a problem I have or whatever, they know how to solve your problem. And we have, first of all, we have historical records of them up into the 1930s, which, by the way, probably means that they existed after that still, which may mean that they exist today. But we also have collections. I always forget what that's called, but there's a book, I've got it. It's like the workbook of Lancelot somebody, but it is just a printed edition of the basically spell book of an Elizabethan era cunning man. So these are they're kind of your village wizards. They weren't malevolent. They were understood to be on your side. There's a really interesting history called Religion and the Decline of Magic by Keith White, maybe. I may be getting that wrong. Great book. I read it a couple times. I gave Tim Powers a copy of it after we talked about the subject, which argues that the cunning men replaced the Catholic priests. So when the country was converted to Protestantism, which was basically a forcible act by the elites, right? England violently became Protestant. If you were in your local village, you're like in Taunton or something, right? You're in Grimsby, and you used to have a problem. In the old days, you'd go to the priest, and the priest knew how to fix things, and the priest he knew what prayers to say to what saint to heal the ulcer on your cow's teat, right? One of the things the priest would do in medieval England is ring the church bell when a storm was gathering, because the church bell was understood to break the severity of the storm, right? So when those guys went away and they were replaced with, I think they were called Lutherans initially, but Protestant preachers. That was a very different breed, right? The Protestant preacher didn't say, "Don't worry, I know the prayer to the right saint. Don't worry, I have the Protestant preacher said, "Well, if we have faith, we can resist Satan's power." And Keith White's argument is, this is terrifying to the early modern Englishman, because it used to be that the priest had power to save you, and now this Protestant's like, "Well, I don't know, it's up to you. Do you have enough faith, Jack?" Right? I kind of feel like, geez, what?
It's like, I don't know. Do I?
Do I? Aren't you supposed to be able to do something? So the cunning men kind of fill the gap. They came back in, and a lot of what they do looks like sort of kind of priesty, kind of hocus pocusy stuff, right? And their spell books, we have a lot of information about the magic they do. It's mostly a lot of sort of domestic stuff. It's, how do I solve a crime? How do I find out who stole my cow, or who killed my husband? How do I make a person fall in love with me? How do I bring businesses into my customers in my business, right? Or one of my favorites is, there's a charm to prevent butter from going bad, which is you put a Bible on top of the churn. You rest the Bible on top of the butter churn, the butter won't go bad, right? So so a cutting man is sorry, Jeremy, I'm terrible at short answers.
No, I love it. The more you talk, the less I have to. So go ahead.
Okay. A cutting man is a late medieval or early modern benign village wizard or witch coming out of the English scene. So these are the magical traditions that these are some of the magical traditions that come with the colonists, the settlers, when they come to North America.
So when you were talking about you read some of the history, and they were as late as the 1930s.
Yeah, we have written evidence that late.
So is that why you picked that period?
That's a good question. You want to talk about the period, Aaron?
No, we were talking about it. We were having this kind of like idea of, okay, we have a Mormon sorcerer. The 50s, the 30s were really this liminal time. It was really before we split the atom. It was kind of like before kind of modern sensibilities. I'm a fan of the show Carnival. So like the 30s Carnival, it was just kind of this like super interesting time. The Dust Bowl, right? The Great Depression. I read a ton of, I have a degree in, English literature. So there was like all the the expats and like in the 30s and kind of like, and I'm a big fan of like Conan and Robert E. Howard, which were all pulp heroes in the 30s. So it was really this kind of liminal time that would be kind of when we could have this character. So right away we're like, no, we have to put it in the 1930s during the Great Depression. We want to put it in Utah. Right away. That was like, and so basically you take a cunning man who has all of this like folk magic to solve crimes, and he's like, and he works for the Mormon Church, serving the poor, right, giving people food and helping, find wells, which people still do, by the way. So when Larry Correa was looking for a well, he had somebody with a dowsing rod come to find water. So some of this stuff we still use. We're working on this book. My mom, we were trying to sell this condo. My father-in-law, he had a disease, so we had to put him in a nursing home. And so we had to sell his condo, and it wasn't selling. So my mom was like, no, you have to bury a statue of St. Joseph upside down, facing the sign, and then you say this prayer, and then the house will sell. And I'm like, Mom, that's folk magic. I'm writing a book about that. I'm not going to do that. Well, my wife was like, no, we need to do that. And I'm like, okay. So we had the St. Joseph. We did the whole thing. I wasn't there. I was traveling at a con, right? My wife was very upset. I was at a con selling books. And so she buried it. And my mom was like, hey, I want my statue of St. Joseph back. And so I'm like,
you're skipping the important part.
What?
The house then sold.
The house then sold.
St. Joseph.
My wife was like, thank you, St. Joseph. And so my mom was like, I want my St. Joseph back. And I'm like, well, I don't know where it is. And my wife was like, well, take Asha with a shovel and under the cover of night, because we had already sold it. So it's like midnight. I'm with my daughter. She's pointing out where it is. I have the shovel. I'm like, man, I feel like there's a scene in The Cunning Man that's basically that whole thing. And I'm like, yeah. So anyway, yeah, living out my books. It was so fun. Yeah. So that's kind of that is The Cunning Man in a nutshell. What's funny? It's funny though, like the banter between the father and me and Dave were both fathers, and so the banter between the father and the son, because the son is very like scientific. He's really the Scully, and so when he figures out his dad is a sorcerer, he just can't. He has a hard time, and so there's kind of like wrestling with faith and kind of like, is there a God? And if there is a God, how come the world's an imperfect place? And that kind of a thing. So it has a little bit of something for everybody.
Yeah.
The Hiram Michael dynamic is fun. Aaron and I are both not only fathers, but fathers of very, very intelligent children.
Yeah.
Which is
dumb. My next kids are going to be dumb, ugly, and sleepy. So, because my kids never slept, never ate, super smart, too smart. No, dumb, ugly, sleepy.
Yeah. So it's a great the father-son dynamic is one of the funnest things about writing these stories. Because Hiram is plenty smart. He's not a university kind of education, right? He's a plenty smart guy. He knows a lot of stuff. But Michael is just hella smart.
And a little bit more modern, wanting to go to college.
And more modern and politically kind of progressive and a little pushy and mouthy about it.
Mm-hmm. Young man.
And Hiram was more kind of like, let's not cause waves. We need to get along with people here. And Michael will call a spade, even if the spade is armed and, likely to attack him. Right. So, that's for me. There are so many things I love about this series and this book in particular. The father-son dynamic, I think, urban fantasy is so often girl with the leather pants and a big butt and some kind of hunky shifter, right? And like that's the main,
which I can appreciate, but I get what you're saying.
And I know some people like that and whatever, right? This is like a subtle, really realistic sort of loving tension with a father trying to sort of guide and teach a son that he knows he won't be able, he couldn't control him if he tried, right? And that he won't be able to hang on to him forever. And he doesn't want to, but he kind of does, and I just love that dynamic so much about these books.
And one thing that stood out to me was the level of patience that Hiram had for his son, and the willingness to teach him and things like that, which unfortunately nowadays is not always the case, and so that stood out to me, and that dynamic, and it kind of cemented that relationship for me, is because he wanted to protect him, but he also wanted him to learn and be able to protect himself and all that, and that kind of touched me a little bit. I enjoyed that.
The other thing that's fun about this book is that the hero is a good man, right? I mean, he's not angsty, right? He's he has some trauma from being in World War I, which out of all the wars, World War I I would not want to be in that war. I mean, that was just it was like hell on earth. But he's a good man, and like he's a man of faith, and like he's very Dale Cooper from Twin Peaks. He's a Boy Scout, right? Yeah. And there isn't a lot of angst, and he's just trying to do the right thing because it's the right thing. He wants to help, and his magic works as long as he's in a good, like he's right with God. So yeah, it's these books were like, and they're very unique, right? I mean,
yes,
you don't have Batman who's like, I'm the darkness. No,
right.
Hiram is like
a conflicted, complicated, yeah.
But now when I watch any movie and there's any sort of witch or any sort of like paranormal, and I'm like, if only Hiram Woolley were there, he would fix everything. Like really, I just saw The Conjuring 4, I think, and I was like, I mean, come on, Hiram would have fixed all of that up so quickly. So,
yeah, no, I agree with you. Very unique. The setting is very unique. The time, because I don't. I'm reading speaking of Tim Powers, I have the pleasure of interviewing him next.
Oh, his new one.
Yeah. And it's set in a similar time frame. It's a little earlier.
Hemingway, one of the characters in it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And so, and it's very interesting because you, or at least I haven't seen a ton of that, to where you kind of go back in time. It's a real, and it's what I love about contemporary fantasy is I don't have to learn this whole new world, or I get to learn more about this time period and this place. It's not, this was in a completely, different world in the fact that it was Mexico, but it's in the 30s, and it involves white Mormons that immigrated into the country. Very unique. I could not throw a stone and hit another book that covers this, So, So good job. And I liked the way that you used Mormonism and Christianity and into the magic system, but it wasn't. It fit. It flowed. It wasn't preachy, and it was enjoyable. At least for me. So
Yeah.
I was singing the praises of this book on the mountain, and because I really enjoyed it, and I am going to read the first 2 books. But with that said, I didn't feel y'all did a good job of catching me up, and I didn't feel like I was missing anything by reading the 3rd book.
Yeah.
And so now I'm enjoying the fact that I'm gonna go read the other ones and maybe learn a little bit more about the characters. So
Awesome.
So yeah, it was great.
A lot of fun to write. Aaron's a great writer. I'm always happy to be partnering with Aaron.
So speaking of division of labor, how did that work out?
No, this is
Your right half.
That's it.
No, this is weird. We did it the weirdest possible way. I don't think people don't write books this way. They just don't. So okay, long story short, I fly in. We're going to go to Helper. So I'm in Utah. We drive down to Helper. We become best friends with Jason Hunsinger at the museum. And we're on the way back, and Dave's says, we're going to get home, and we're just going to... No, I flew in, and Dave said, hey, it's going to be the hardest thing. We just need to start. And so the next day on Sunday, so I flew in on a Saturday, and he's like, we're going to go home, and I'm going to write the first chapter. You're going to write the second chapter, and then we'll just have started. And then tomorrow we'll do tomorrow we'll go to the museum. And then, during the week I lived at his house, and, we'd write the book together. And so we wrote chapter 1, chapter 2, and Dave was like, hey, we have it all outlined. So we had a full outline. We had character arcs. We knew exactly what needed to happen. And Dave was like, hey, let's just pick a chapter and write it, because we know what's going to happen. And so that's what we did. And so we wouldn't read the other person's. It was this mad rush. He would write he wrote chapter 1, I wrote chapter 2. He's like, hey, I want to do chapter 5. And I'm like, okay, I'll do chapter 9, And so at the end, you've written half a book, but you don't know what the other half of the book looks like.
That's great.
And then we put all the chapters together, and then Dave would read through them. And a lot of times it was just the transitions were off. He would finish it.
Only once. There was only one. It was great. The only problem with the first book and the transition, in the 3rd book, they're a little more. So the first book, I think we wrote in 9 days. So it took a month to outline.
Quick.
We wrote it in 9 days. Of course, we each only wrote half a book, right? We each wrote 50,000 words. So that's good, right? But
okay.
I think it's
5,000 words a day is super doable.
Yeah, super doable. As long as you have the time, right? It's not a problem. So there was one seam problem, seam where the two come together, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like the scene where they run into the railroad man's thugs in the alley in Helper. And one of us had written that at the end of a chapter, and the other had put it in the beginning of the next chapter. And so we had written one scene twice. And so we just had to meld them together, basically, right? Other than that, totally worked. We had to polish them. We had to try to make the voice sound this more or less unified. Mm-hmm. Now book 2 was similarly fast. It might have been 13 days or something, but again,
that's crazy.
You outline first. It's good outline.
We're both fast writers.
Yeah.
We're not perfectionists. So.
Yeah, exactly. The 3rd one was slower to write because of me. My life got weirdly complicated. If you feel like my writing productivity slowed down, yes, I started a business. I ran a business with some partners that was not book related for 9 months. And then I had to take the thing down, and I got sued and a bunch of crap. And so Aaron's half was written, just like we'd done before. Mm-hmm. And my half was not. I got half of my half written, and then it sat for a year.
Oh, wow.
Or more.
It's about a year. 9 months. No, it was August to June. Or no, it was 9 months. It wasn't that bad.
I'm not sure. I feel like it might have been more than a year, but it was a long time, right? But that's just on me. That's life scheduling stuff, right? But look, I think there are lots of ways you can co-write a book, and I think they probably all suck. And I think ours sucks the least of anything I have.
Really? You would recommend doing it this way?
Well, what are the alternatives, right? So you can you can take turns writing chapters. I'll write a chapter, you write a chapter. But then you end up like fighting over what the other guy wrote because you get bogged down in the, I don't like, chapter 2 sounded so great. I thought the tone was a little dark. What if you make it lighter? And what if I've got an idea. What if the slot machine is sentient, right? And you don't want to do that. You want to write it, then look, right? Or you I write a whole draft, you work over and polish it. And then the guy who writes a whole draft is like, why did I write the book? You just crapped over the whole book, right? Or there's the thing where writer A actually does the whole book and writer B is the senior writer and goes, yes, this is good. Let's change this character's name to Bill. Done, right? No, we is a real peer work. We did it fast, right? And well crafted, well structured, interesting novels. I mean, partly that's because I never outline so thoroughly as when I'm co-writing with Aaron, because the outline has to be pretty thorough.
Yeah.
Right? And you have to communicate. So when Aaron on book 3 was out ahead of me, he'd be like, hey, listen, I did this. Hey, I want to make a change here. And I was just kind of like, well, I'm freaking 5 chapters behind. So, okay, we'll do it. Totally works.
Well, I would agree.
Genius like Aaron, but that helps.
Well, I was about to say, it depends on who you're writing with, right?
Yeah, that's true. Boy, that's always true.
Yeah.
So, y'all were successful. It seemed like only one person was writing the book to me, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Now we're getting close to the end here, but before we go, maybe let's catch people up from first and second book into the third book, just like a brief elevator pitch
for what happens in the first and second.
Yeah. Without giving too much away, of course.
Yeah, do you want me to describe the first book? You can describe the second.
Sure.
So the opening book one, we actually first meet Hiram in an interview in the church, and it's uncomfortable because he's in trouble, and he's sort of he can't lie, but he's sort of trying to just be a little bit non-confrontational and a little bit evasive and I don't want trouble. He's in trouble because people have been correctly telling his church leaders that he's performing acts of magic. Hiram, from his point of view, honestly, is sort of like, well, this is not magic. I just do things that worked. I didn't curse anybody. I helped I think there's a woman who he healed a cow or something, or helped her find a lost cow. And so he's kind of in trouble. He's kind of on the edge. Then he and Michael get in the truck, the Model AA Ford pickup truck. It's not pickup, just truck.
I looked that truck up.
Yeah.
It's a cool looking truck.
It is a cool truck. Man, writing his period fiction, you got to be careful because you're how did cars actually start in 1935? And you got to go look at them. And it's not this. It's not this. It's the multi-step process.
Yeah.
So taking food down to Helper, Utah, because this is a mining town and the mines are closed.
Mm-hmm.
They get down to Helper, and on the way in, there's a confrontation with I'm telling too much detail. Let me pull back out. The mine is closed because there is a demon in the mine, and the demon is.
They don't know there's a demon,
right?
Dave.
But this is ultimately. But I realized I was going chapter by chapter, and it was going to be 40 minutes. So there's a demon in the mine, okay, and it's manipulating the family that owns the land. It's caused he's dead now, but the former kind of clan patriarch to basically murder children as sacrifices. And he Hiram ends up battling the demon. There is also another wizard on the scene, a German shopkeeper, Gus Dollar. His real name is Zoller, but Gus, I love Gus. Gus Dollar, who's kind of this sort of benevolent-looking grandpa guy, but Hiram goes into his store and like there are numerous obvious sort of charms of various kinds around the store, right? And it turns out that Gus is basically in league with / trying to control the demon in the bottom of the pit. So Hiram is shuffles between the sort of surviving 3 children of the dead patriarch, trying to get the family to unify. The story ends up a lot of just great individual scenes. The story ends up in the bottom of the mine with the demon as a sort of humanoid fly swarm advancing up the mine towards them. Hiram is retreating. He's like, I can't remember, he has gasoline or something, but he's like trying to put up fire barriers and defensive spells, while also trying to exhort the 3 siblings behind him to forgive each other, because if they don't, the demon's going to eat them all, right? Absolutely just a lot of fun. One of my favorite things about that book is this is ever so slightly less true in the final book. It was definitely true in the first draft. In the first draft, the whole thing from sentence 1 to the last sentence was one sustained magical duel between Hiram and Gus Dollar, because the first line was something like, "Pap, I feel thirsty." And what this was Gus's customer drawing spell beginning to work on Michael, luring him into the store to force him to buy Coca-Cola, right? And that's the first shot in this duel that ends up with Hiram's like hitting Gus Dollar with the whip, and the demon is emerging out of the darkness, and in the revision, most of the book, everything from like chapter 2 on, is one sustained magical duel using entirely authentic magical
Folk
words.
magic.
Yeah, sourced out of folk magic texts or spell books.
Awesome.
Oh my God, Dave. We called it literature's slowest magic duel.
Yes.
And I think it is. It is. I think you're not going to read another book like this. Second book, the big reveal is Michael starts off the first book, doesn't know his dad's a cunning man. So the second book starts off that he knows his dad's a cunning man. And they go down to Moab, which was a couple hours south of Provo. And they live in Orem, right?
They live in Lehi.
Lehi, okay. And so they drive down to Moab, and Michael's learning how to douse for water, and they're there to like help find a well and build a fence and like just normal stuff. They're just down there helping the other Mormons there. And so then they come across a ghost, and the book is trying to figure out why the ghost is alive and to get justice for the ghost. And it involves a cult of deer men. There's a woman named Diana Artemis, who's not what she seems. She was a great character. Because Hiram starts to feel lust, and his magic doesn't work. Because he's feeling lustful for the good old Diana Artemis.
Hiram's craft only works insofar as he can maintain a chaste and sober mind.
And when Michael like hears Diana Artemis, he's like, that's basically the same thing. It's redundant. It's like Diana Artemis is like the moon goddess, right? Yeah, we get it. Yeah, well, that's not her real name. Michael's so great. And there's we talk about the uranium mining. There's a uranium prospector there. There's a
that's right.
There's a preacher down there who's railing against FDR and his like socialist practices. It's just bonkers, man. It is just bonkers. And we kind of point to a kind of a bigger world, because there's a at the end of the book, there's kind of this scene where points there might be kind of a government sponsored cunning man, but it's just very lightly done. So no, it's a hoot. It was a hoot. And we talk about like the lore, like there was a bank robbery, and the bank robbers at the end, they got back more money. So like the bank was better off because the robbers did it wrong. I forget the specifics.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. This is like
oh yeah.
And I think it was even in the period, or it might have been the 20s or something, where they stole money, hid it, and then when they returned it, it was more than was
right.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that was pretty great.
So we have like interesting characters, weirdness. There was a guy, like one of the guy runs a restaurant and has his dog, and so he loved this dog so much he had it stuffed. But then he had another dog, so he put the other dog inside the other dog. So he has like levels of dogs, and there's a bottle of booze. Yeah. So it's weird. This is weirdness, Jeremy.
With a whiskey bottle.
And I'm like, dude, Dave, we can't do multiple stuffed dogs inside one another. And Dave's like, oh yes, we can, and we are. Because our beta reader, Tan Smith, bought us a book of like interesting taxidermy, and that was one of the taxidermy things. So
it's funny. My family gets many stereotypes out of Louisiana, and one of my older brothers is for many years was a taxidermist, and and hunter, and he's done some wacky stuff over the years, so that kind of hits home for me.
That's hilarious.
That is awesome.
Oh my god, that's so funny.
Oh, and so brief elevator pitch for the third book. Hopefully not the final book. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So
all right, let me do it real quick.
All right.
Hiram, again, on a mission from the church. The church says, hey, we need you to bring your money down. So there's money that he breaks down to El Paso. While he's in El Paso, they meet kind of a firebrand preacher who's historically was an actual historical figure who really saw Mormonism being for the indigenous people, right? Mm-hmm. And like and so Mexicans were really like
the chosen ones,
the chosen ones, and not all these white people. And so Hiram ends up having to drive this guy over the border. He's seeing this ghost, keeps appearing, this man with a bloody face. He doesn't know what's quite right. But then it's really him driving down, and there's another murder. It's a locked room, and they have to figure out who killed the beloved shopkeeper. And Hiram has to confront his father, who was one of the polygamists, right? Mm-hmm. Who abandoned Hiram and his mom. And there's a ghost master who's controlling the ghost that they have to figure out. They have to figure out the murder. Hiram has to really confront his relationship with both his mother and his father, in various ways. It's just it's like these first two books, but I think the third one is kind of the most intense. I mean, it's really kind of emotionally intense because he's having to kind of confront his family. And Michael falls a girl. I love the girl. Mm-hmm. I love a little romance.
Yeah, and Michael kind of steps up as a magician, right?
Yeah.
Michael goes from being I don't know if we use this word, but like a scientific materialist or something in the beginning of book one to full on battling ghosts.
He does what works.
Yeah, this book has so many great scenes. One of the many great scenes. There's like an extended battle inside a Nuevo Casas Grandes insane asylum.
I love that scene. That was a good one.
Yeah,
that was Dave. That was all Dave's writing.
No, it's not. Part of that is you. That was I think almost half and half. But I will say one of the bits that I selfishly liked, and we outlined this, right? You may well have invented it, but when Michael's alone in a basement, he's been thrown by burly possessed orderlies down a laundry chute, and like he realizes that it's full of ghosts, and he realizes the ghosts are starting to possess him, and they seem to be sort of taking over one limb at a time because he loses control of his legs first, right? And there is this fantastic scene where, to basically save himself, he bites off a chunk of a bar of lye soap and swallows it to force himself to vomit. He's just vomiting up these ghosts that were inside it. This is the kind of book that is, right?
It is the kind of book that is.
Who is this? Who is the audience?
Who is this for?
Yeah, but it's
Oh my God.
but it's awesome.
Yeah, and so one thing I have to compliment y'all on: one, steaks. Y'all did a good job of introducing steaks that made it, feel real and like, oh shit, I hope this works out, And then also, I was, while I was reading the book, I was trying to figure out who's the bad guy, who's the bad guy, and it is not obvious. I thought it was one person. It was not that person. I thought it was another person. No, it's not. And so, good job on that, because it wasn't until, close to the end where, you had the big reveal and all that. And I was like, oh, did not see that coming. So good job.
Thank you.
So, will there be more?
If I can seduce Aaron into it.
Okay.
Maybe in time. There are things we'd like to do.
Yeah. We wanted to do a prequel story of Hiram and
Yazzie.
And World War I. So doing a prequel story about like how Yaz dies. And then we also have the idea of a kind of Raiders of the Lost Ark-ish San Francisco. So Hiram and Michael go to San Francisco to fight Nazis. We've talked about a spin-off series where Michael becomes a lawyer in Denver. His father dies, and so Michael is like a lawyer in Denver, but he's a cunning man. So it'd be Michael in the 50s,
right?
In Denver.
Michael's come back from having been at Iwo Jima or whatever, and
So yeah.
Yeah, so I enjoy the fact that y'all do site visits and go visit the places to learn more about them. I'm trying to get Marisa to write something in Italy or France or something so we can write a trip.
Yeah,
this is wise. This is a good move. That's how one does it.
So in addition to the Cunning Man series, which like I said, I'm gonna go read the other books as soon as I can, because I really did enjoy it. No blowing smoke up your skirt. It's very enjoyable. It was I am a slow reader, but I found myself enjoying coming back to the book, and because I'm an audiophile, I listen to books.
Oh yeah.
And because I'm a slow reader, but this one kept me coming back, and I appreciate you and all that. So with that, what else do you guys have coming down the pipeline that you're able to talk to that maybe people don't know about?
I'll go. So I have the Familiar Spirit comes out next week. Then I'm going to be working on Shadowcroft Academy for Dungeons 4, the final book with James Hunter, through Shadow Alley Press, and then that's might be the last of the Aaron Michael Ritchie books until Dave seduces me to write an epic fantasy with Christian orcs. Yes. So
is that for real?
Who is that book for there, Butler?
Me.
Yeah.
That book is for me, Aaron.
My own pleasure.
So and the Shadowcroft Academy for Dungeons is a dungeon core, so it's lit RPG, so it's a fantasy novel with literary elements, and it's about a guy who learns how to become a mushroom dungeon, at a dungeon academy to save the universe. So, and on book 4, his little cohort of other dungeon cores come to Earth. So there's going to be like Waffle House dungeons, and the car henge is going to have it's off the hook. They're funny. It's silly.
Yeah.
They would be animated. Like you couldn't do them. Like they're definite, like animated. So that's what I have coming up. Dave Butler.
Awesome.
My life keeps getting curveballs. I'm in a little curveball right now. Once I get out of the curveball. I got a nonfiction project I got to finish, which will probably come out next year. And then my plan is to, and I'm already a few weeks late on my plan, but I just want to finish The Witch You Are. I want to write books 5 and 6 back to back. Serpent Mother and Serpent Son. So that is my plan. I haven't told that to Tony W, but ideally, if I can hit my plan, that might mean that book 5 is coming out late next year.
That's another series I want to get into.
Dude, Witchy Eye is off the hook.
Yeah.
That's so good. Oh, and I forgot. I also have the Juniper War 6. So Dave finished. So Quincy, J. Allen, Dave Butler, and me all started our epic series at the same time. And I just want to say I finished first. So book 6 of my epic steampunk, the Juniper Wars. It's cowgirls with machine guns on a post-apocalyptic cattle drive. That one's not funny. That one is it's a thrill ride. Very intense. Book 6 is going to come out, and then we're going to release we're going to do a re-release with new covers. Yeah, that's my sci-fi western. It was a steampunk back when steampunk was a thing. But yeah, so I'm super excited that those are my favorite books. So those are the books that I adore. So I finished the series, and it'll be coming out. I'm very happy.
So you guys are entertaining us by writing these books, and you have to entertain yourselves so that you stay sane and everything. So what do you do for fun, whether you're reading or watching stuff, doing whatever? What do you do to keep yourself sane?
I like gaming.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a role-playing group. We're nearing the end of a Harnmaster campaign. My group is sort of pushing me to put game night in the schedule because it's been a minute. And man, I read a ton. Aaron is right. I read an absolute ton. It's mostly been nonfiction for a long time. Mm-hmm. I hope to soon sort of take a bit of a nonfiction fast and maybe catch up on some novels. We'll see.
Okay. Is there anything nonfiction wise that you're looking forward to?
Interesting question. I have to tell you, I don't even remember what's in my stack. I have to go look at it. I'm sure the answer is yes, because those are all books that I bought, but I can't even remember what it is.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I'm halfway through. No, I'm halfway through a super interesting biography of Jack Parsons. Jack was one of the fathers of American rocketry. He also was a member of the United Order of the Golden Dawn or whatever. He was an occultist. He may have committed suicide by blowing himself with a rocket. It's a super interesting biography because rocketry was outside of academia. So these guys needed university resources, but they were kind of like blue collar wild men, right? They weren't really mostly professors. But the craziest story about Jack Parsons, who was a sex magician, okay,
as one is
when L. Ron Hubbard swindles him out of money.
Mm-hmm.
Because L. Ron says, "Here's what we're going to do. We're going to buy yachts on the East Coast, and we're going to sell them around the Cape to California. We're going to sell them for a lot more money." He gets Jack to give him his savings. He's just stealing it, and he goes and buys a yacht, and he seduces Jack's girlfriend and takes Jack's girlfriend out of the yacht, and they sail off. Ha ha ha! We have Jack's money. Well, what do you do if you are a sex magician and you are treated so ill? You perform an act of sex magic to summon a storm to punish L. Ron Hubbard. This is what Jack Parsons did. And whether it was because of his sex ritual or not, a storm indeed did force L. Ron Hubbard's ship, the yacht, back into port, where Parsons confronted him, got back half his money. I think left the girl with L. Ron Hubbard. So I am halfway through that. It is a great read.
It sounds fun.
Wow.
Yeah. We remember that there were Nazis at the beginning of our space program. We forget there was a Satanist also.
Wow. I'm a simple man. No, the problem with me is I read now, and I just read for it's just a job, it's just work. So I just I read stuff because I'm writing to a specific market, so I'm just reading a bunch of that stuff. But it's just work. What fills my bucket, I've realized this, is movies. And what I'll do is I go to like 3 movies in a row, and like I'm by myself. I'm in the theater. I don't have my phone. I don't have my computer. And I'm just like, man, I spend like 6-7 hours in the wacky world of movie, and I don't care what I see. So I'll just go. I'm going to go to a 1 o'clock, a 3 o'clock, a 5 o'clock, and then that's what I just whatever is. I don't really care, and so I just go there and I check out, and that's what fills my bucket. But more and more, writing. It's no longer a chore. It's no longer, I don't dread it. It's really an escape now. I've really turned the corner. I was on vacation in the Caribbean with a bunch of writers last year, and I was like, this is fun, but I would rather be writing this scene than living it because there's no dragons, and I want to have a dragon. So yes,
you know what would make this island great? A dragon.
A dragon. So writing really has become my escape, and it wasn't like that for most of my. I mean, I guess you have to write like 50 books before. So now it's my escape. So
awesome. All right, gentlemen, we wrapping up here. Let's let people know one more time where they can find you online and maybe in person if they wanted to do so. Aaron, why don't you go first?
No, I'm just online. Aaron Michael Ritchie. I'm all over the place. You can find me.
All right.
I have learned in recent days that there are many, many Dave Butlers. I've learned this because a whole bunch of reporters, when they have finally gotten a hold of me, said, "Oh, I talked to 3 other Dave Butlers before I found you." Like I'm sorry, that's my name, right? So, but
why didn't they just Google Dave Butler, science fiction fantasy author?
Yeah, the shortest route is to do that and email me through my website, and a few of them have done that, right? Or they just went on Twitter and just replied to my tweet, and that works. I've contacted them, but yeah, some have not. Some have tried other routes and gotten lost. So my Twitter X handle is @DavidJohnButler. There's an H in John. That's the easiest place to come find me.
Awesome. Well, gentlemen, it was an absolute pleasure talking with you. A pleasure reading the book. I look forward to more. And I wish y'all the best of luck, and hopefully we get to do this again pretty soon so I can get a 4th book out of you.
Woohoo!
Look forward to it.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, you,
bye,
gentlemen.
Guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And now, as promised, one jump ahead. John Moore is a nanotech-enhanced soldier of fortune. Lobo is an AI, a living weapons and intelligence platform of enormous destructive potential. 2 very dangerous wolves in a galaxy of deadly corporate and paramilitary predators. But Moore has grown weary of the killing, and just once he'd like to finish the job without leaving a trail of blood behind him. Not going to happen. Not on a pristine planet called Macon, where 2 gigantic corporations vie for control of the local jump gate and access to the riches of an undeveloped world. Dealing with a kidnapping and extortion scheme is only the beginning for Moore and Lobo as they work to stay one jump ahead.
I tuned in to the 2 nearest to me, a pair of almost identical hollow splatter Stellar Revolution wargamers. The only visible difference between them, their chassis colors. One gaping wound red and the other screaming blue. The cluster of cheering bodies and the cylinders of mayhem flickering in the air above them made them the current centers of attention. Their vigorous, networked 8-player game sucking credit at high speed from the wallets of the men and women engaged in it. Do these players, and I use the term loosely and generously, have any brains at all? Redcase asked Blue. Apparently not, Blue said. They're missing 57% of their shots, ignoring the value of the high ground, walking right over buried weapons that could turn the tide, making more mistakes than the waitresses when they're off duty. And I thought they were bad. They are bad, Red said. These guys are just worse. If they continue to play for another hour and consume alcohol at the current rate, My projection is that they will have a real chance at setting a new planetary low score per minute. They well and truly reek, Blue said. But my simulation suggests a planetary low is too much to hope for. Of course, my processor complex is running newer firmware than yours, so it's only natural you would make this sort of error. As if the firmware matters for Sims, Red said. If you would update... I cut in, afraid their argument would take them so far off topic I'd never be able to bring them back. So, who were the good players? I said. Excuse me? They said in unison. Surely systems of your intelligence have dealt with human talkers before, I said. Well, said Red. Not recently, said Blue. But of course I'm familiar with the phenomenon. So am I, said Red. So, who's good? I said again. If these clowns are bad, and it sure sounds like they are, tell me about someone good. Oh, they are bad, said Blue. Their accuracy rate is down since my last comment. Over 60% misses, and they've shown no new grasp of strategy. Who are the top 10 players you've encountered? I asked. Keeping these machines on track was always a challenge. Questions that focused on facts and game lore were always the best choice. Each one rattled off 10 names I didn't recognize. I bet Mr. Osterlad is a strong player, I said. As if he'd play here, Blue said. He plays strictly on private rigs, Red said, and even on those systems rarely. I can't find a single public score for him. I see you're the machine to ask, I said. Not to be outdone in any data contest, Blue chimed in. You're lucky that old box knows anything at all. Osterlad's never even been here. As it would know if it had half the intelligence I did and realized it could check with the drink dispensers and credit systems on our network. None of them has ever dealt with him. It's not a gaming problem, of course. Osterlad simply does not come in. I sighed. So much for the hope that he might do the executive drink and game crawl to show he could hold his own with the rising stars. Of course, Red said. If that weak sister pile of scrapings had bothered to check the private forums, it would find, as I already did, that Osterlad posts scores privately from some of the classic shooter rigs on his sailboat, and that he typically beats his guests. Not that those old games are anything at all compared to what I offer. What we offer, Blue said. Though with the failing projectors along your perimeter, it's amazing the players can tolerate the images you deliver. Failing projectors? Red said. I cannot. I tuned out. Osterlad wouldn't be coming here, and from what Blue had said, he probably wouldn't venture into Queen's Bar at all. I suspected I could find some of his people, but kidnapping one or even several would be unlikely to get me anywhere with someone like him. He'd just write them off. I chatted with a couple of the other gaming tables and a washroom sanitizer, but they knew even less of use to me, and none had ever seen Osterlad. I'd hoped this would be simple, but I should have known better. Osterlad was too successful to be flashy in a business that valued privacy almost as much as firepower. A direct approach would be necessary. I wandered up to the bar and waited for the attention of the head bartender, a feisty gray-haired woman who had to be under 1.5 meters tall. Another glass of Milano juice, I said, and a question. She stepped back reflexively. I thumbed 50 times the price of the drink as a tip. Just a recommendation. I need a tour shuttle's codes. She checked her own wallet and came closer. Bar None Travel, a couple 100 meters down Laura's Lament, she said. They can help you find a suitable tour ship. I don't want a whole ship, I said. All I need... She cut me off before I could say more. I heard you the first time, she said, and it was more than I wanted to hear. Bar None Travel is where I'd go if I were you. She filled my glass and left. I finished the overly sweet drink. Osterlad's dispenser had provided better, no surprise there, and headed out. I needed to obtain those codes, pick up a few special supplies, and then take Lobo out of storage. It was time to get a better view of Mr. Osterlad.
This has been the Bane Free Radio Hour. Thanks for joining us at the heart of science fiction. Join us next week as we hope to bring you Haley H.Y. Gregor's interview of Catherine Asaro on her latest Bane novel, Gold Dust. And later, we continue with part 32 of One Jump Ahead by Mark L. Van Name. Score by Ruth Judkowitz.